The atmospheric entry pod hissed as it settled on the manicured lawn of the Global Interspecies Relations Center. Inside, Vera Talmaris adjusted her translator pendant and took a final look at her appearance in the reflective surface of the control panel. Her emerald skin gleamed under the pod's lights, and she tucked a stray crimson curl behind her pointed ear. "Composure, Vera," she reminded herself, mentally reciting the Elusian oath of academic integrity. "You are here to observe, document, and understand, not to judge." As the Republic of Elusia's leading anthropologist, Vera had been selected for this prestigious mission, the first extended cultural exchange between their worlds. 6 Earth months of immersive study among humans, living alongside them to document their customs, languages, and social structures. Her research would form the foundation of interplanetary relations for generations. The pod door slid open, revealing a small, welcoming committee. A tall human male stepped forward, his skin a warm brown, his dark hair peppered with gray at the temples. "Dr. Talmaris," he called, pronouncing her name with careful precision. "Welcome to Earth. I'm Professor Marcus Evans, head of xenoanthropology at Stanford University. I'll be your liaison during your stay." Vera stepped from the pod, feeling Earth's gravity tug at her limbs. Heavier than Elusia, but manageable. She extended her 4-fingered hand in the greeting gesture she had studied. "Professor Evans, I am grateful for your assistance in this endeavor." His handshake was firm but gentle, acknowledging her different physiology. "The pleasure is mine. Your people's advancements in sustainable energy are remarkable. I'm hoping we have much to learn from each other." As they walked toward the building, Vera noticed how Marcus modulated his stride to match her shorter legs. A courtesy not mentioned in her briefing materials. Interesting. "Your living quarters are adjacent to mine on campus," Marcus explained. "We thought proximity would facilitate your research and allow me to answer questions as they arise." "Most logical," Vera agreed, activating her wrist recorder. "I must document everything, Elusian protocol." Marcus smiled. "Of course, though I should warn you, human behavior isn't always logical. We're a contradictory species." "All sentient life contains contradictions," Vera replied. "On Elusia, we embrace formality to manage our emotional intensity. Our history before the Great Rationalization was turbulent." Inside the center, several humans approached, introducing themselves as department heads and cultural specialists. Vera noted their varied skin tones, heights, and mannerisms, far more diversity in appearance than Elusians. Later, in her assigned quarters, Vera reviewed her first day's recordings, while Marcus prepared a simple meal to introduce her to Earth cuisine. "This beverage," she said, examining a steaming mug, "it smells complex." "Coffee," Marcus explained. "Humanity's fuel, though you might find it strong." Vera took a careful sip, and her pupils dilated dramatically. "Stimulant properties, similar to our xanthine ceremonies, though we reserve those for academic achievements." Marcus laughed, a sound that startled Vera with its openness. On Elusia, such unrestrained expression was reserved for intimate settings. "Americans drink this daily, sometimes hourly," he explained. "We're an impatient species." "Fascinating," Vera murmured, making another note. "Your casual relationship with mind-altering substances suggests a comfortable relationship with altered consciousness." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "I've never thought of my morning cup quite that deeply." "This is why cross-cultural study is valuable," Vera said earnestly. "We see each other more clearly than we see ourselves." As the Earth sun set outside her window, Vera felt a flutter of excitement. Already, humans were proving more nuanced than her briefings suggested. Professor Evans seemed intelligent, respectful, and possessed a sense of humor that, while initially disorienting, she found oddly appealing. Tomorrow would bring her first immersion in a human educational institution. So many idioms, customs, and social hierarchies to decode. As an Elusian scholar, Vera was prepared for academic challenges, but the warmth in Marcus's gaze when he bid her good night suggested a different sort of challenge altogether, one her extensive research hadn't prepared her for. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. Why would anyone be shooting the breeze? Is the atmosphere considered hostile? Vera whispered to Marcus as they navigated the crowded faculty lounge. Marcus suppressed a smile. 2 weeks into Vera's research visit, her literal interpretations of human idioms had become endearingly predictable. It just means casual conversation, he explained quietly. Humans use metaphors extensively in everyday speech. Vera's crimson eyebrows furrowed as she made a note on her digital tablet. Already, her human expressions document contained over 300 entries, categorized by apparent meaning, literal incongruity, and contextual usage. Your species fascinates me, she admitted. On Elusia, our language evolved to eliminate ambiguity after the Third Communication War. Metaphor is reserved exclusively for artistic expression. The faculty mixer buzzed with conversation, providing Vera with prime observation opportunities. Marcus introduced her to colleagues, most of whom reacted with a mixture of curiosity and awkward courtesy. Dr. Olivia Hernandez, a linguistics professor, was particularly interested in Vera's translator pendant. The device interprets intent rather than exact wording, Vera explained, though it struggles with your idioms. That must lead to some interesting misunderstandings, Olivia remarked. Indeed, yesterday Professor Evans said he was dog-tired, and I inquired why he compared his fatigue to a canine's. Your species' preoccupation with earth animals in language is most peculiar. Olivia laughed. English is particularly rich with animal metaphors. Busy as a bee, sly as a fox, we love comparing ourselves to other creatures. Across the room, a group of younger faculty members had gathered around a table laden with drinks. Their laughter grew louder with each round, their body language more animated. Vera observed with fascination. Alcohol appears to diminish inhibitions in humans, she noted. Similar to our empathy crystals, though the effect seems less controlled. Marcus nodded. Not everyone handles it gracefully. Would you like to try a drink? Something mild, perhaps. I would appreciate the cultural experience, Vera agreed. As Marcus went to fetch beverages, Vera circulated through the gathering, recording snippets of conversation in her tablet. Humans spoke differently in groups than in one-on-one interactions, overlapping speech interrupted thoughts, inside jokes that seemed to require shared history. A cluster of teaching assistants near the window caught her attention when one of them mentioned animal behavior. And then he said he prefers doggy style. I nearly spit out my drink, a female voice exclaimed, followed by raucous laughter. Vera's translator pendant flickered, a sign it was struggling with context. Another animal reference? She moved closer, notebook ready. Classic Jake, a male voice responded. But hey, whatever works in the bedroom, right? More laughter. Vera jotted notes rapidly. Bedroom rituals involving canine behavior, a significant cultural practice perhaps. The human's emotional response suggested it held importance. When Marcus returned with a glass of white wine, Vera was deep in thought. You look perplexed, he observed, handing her the glass. I overheard a reference to doggy style in relation to bedroom activities, she said directly. Is this another animal metaphor? Marcus choked on his drink, coughing as his face flushed darker. Vera noted his physiological response with interest. That's, not something we typically discuss in professional settings, he managed finally. I've caused discomfort, Vera realized. My apologies. On Elusia, we have no taboo subjects in academic inquiry. It's fine, Marcus assured her, glancing around to ensure no one had overheard. Some human topics are just considered private. Maybe we should join the discussion on cognitive linguistics. But Vera's curiosity was piqued. The translator pendant had flagged the term as culturally significant, and Marcus's reaction confirmed it. She would need to research this doggy-style phenomenon in detail. Perhaps it was related to the companion animals humans kept in their dwellings, or some ritualistic behavior. As the evening progressed, Vera sampled her wine cautiously, noting how it softened the edges of her normally precise thoughts. She found herself watching Marcus more closely, the way he gestured when explaining concepts, how his eyes crinkled when he smiled, the respectful way he introduced her to his colleagues. In her 6 weeks on Earth, Professor Evans had proven to be an excellent guide to human culture. His patience with her questions, his evident interest in Elusian customs, and his willingness to explain human inconsistencies made him an ideal research partner. And if her pulse quickened slightly when he placed his hand briefly on her shoulder to steer her through the crowd, that was merely a physiological response to Earth's atmosphere. Nothing more. Back in her quarters that night, Vera added Doggy style to her research list, marking it with a priority flag. Whatever this mysterious practice was, it clearly held significant cultural meaning. As a thorough anthropologist, she would not leave Earth without understanding it, along with the curious warmth she felt whenever Marcus was near. Vera adjusted the collar of her formal illusion tunic, deep blue with silver accents, marking her as a senior scholar, as she prepared for the dinner party at Dean Whittaker's home. After a month on Earth, she had grown accustomed to the curious glances her emerald skin and four-fingered hands attracted, but formal social gatherings still presented complex challenges. "You look lovely," Marcus commented as they walked the tree-lined path to the dean's residence. "That color complements your complexion." "Thank you," Vera replied, feeling an unexpected flush warm her cheeks. "I chose it to honor the academic occasion. On Illusia, color signifies one's intellectual discipline. And blue represents the study of sentient behavior across cosmic cultures," she explained, "our eldest field of scholarship." The dean's house was filled with university dignitaries and major donors, all eager to meet the visiting alien researcher. Vera found herself repeatedly answering the same questions about illusion physiology and customs, maintaining her diplomatic composure despite the occasional insensitive inquiry. "Do all your people have such vibrant skin?" asked a silver-haired woman wearing excessive jewelry. "Yes, though our hues range from celadon to deep emerald," Vera explained patiently, "much like the variety in human skin tones." "Fascinating, and do you reproduce like humans do?" the woman pressed. Before Vera could respond, Marcus intervened smoothly. "Mrs. Cavendish, I believe the dean is about to make a toast. Shall we move to the main room?" As they navigated through the crowd, Vera whispered, "Was that question inappropriate? My research indicates humans are preoccupied with reproductive behaviors." "It was rather personal," Marcus confirmed. "Some humans forget that different cultural norms exist regarding privacy." The evening progressed with speeches and formal presentations about interspecies cooperation. Vera delivered brief remarks about her research goals, earning enthusiastic applause. Afterward, as servers circulated with desserts, she found herself in conversation with a neurobiology professor whose questions showed genuine intellectual curiosity. Eventually, Marcus approached with 2 glasses of sparkling water. "Thought you might need a break from answering questions about whether you have extra organs," he said with a wry smile. "The inquiries have been educational," Vera replied. "I'm documenting human approaches to cross-cultural interaction. There appears to be a correlation between alcohol consumption and decreased awareness of diplomatic boundaries." Marcus laughed. "That's an extremely polite way of saying people get rude when they're drunk." Their conversation was interrupted by a young faculty couple who joined their circle, clearly excited to meet Vera. "Your presentation was incredible," the woman gushed. "The way you've adapted to Earth customs so quickly is impressive." "Thank you," Vera responded. "Though I still encounter many confusions in human expression, my research list grows daily." "What's been most confusing?" the man asked. Vera considered. "Perhaps your numerous animal references. For instance, I recently encountered the term doggy style and have been unable to determine its cultural significance." Professor Evans was reluctant to explain its importance in bedroom rituals. An awkward silence fell over the group. The couple exchanged glances, the woman pressing her lips together while the man suddenly became very interested in his drink. Marcus stood frozen, his expression one Vera now recognized as mortification. "It's a positioning preference," the woman finally offered, her voice strained. "For transformation rituals?" Vera asked earnestly. "I hypothesized it might relate to humans adopting canine characteristics for some purpose, perhaps combat advantage or status display." The man abruptly snorted, then tried to disguise it as a cough. No transformation," Marcus interjected hastily. "It's just terminology." Vera's confusion deepened. "But why reference canines specifically? Do humans actually mimic dog behavior in intimate settings? This seems at odds with your species' claimed superiority over Earth animals." At this, the man lost his composure entirely, turning away as his shoulders shook with suppressed laughter. The woman bit her lip, eyes watering with the effort to maintain decorum. You don't transform into animals as part of your mating rituals," Vera pressed, now genuinely bewildered by their reactions. Absolutely not, Marcus assured her, his face now a deep red. It's just a descriptive term for, look, can we discuss this privately later? But Vera's academic curiosity was fully engaged. I find it perplexing that a species would name intimate behaviors after animals they consider inferior. Is this perhaps related to repressed instinctual desires? Do humans secretly wish to embrace their animalistic nature? The woman suddenly excused herself, practically dragging her partner away as he struggled to contain his mirth. Nearby guests had begun to look in their direction, drawn by the commotion. Vera, Marcus said quietly but firmly, this is definitely one of those topics humans don't discuss in formal settings. Realization dawned in Vera's eyes. I've violated a social taboo, she whispered, horrified. My deepest apologies, I was pursuing academic understanding. It's okay, Marcus reassured her, though he still looked intensely uncomfortable. Cultural misunderstandings happen, but maybe we should step outside for a moment. As they escaped to the garden terrace, Vera felt a most unillusion emotion, embarrassment. Whatever this mysterious, doggy style entailed, she had clearly stumbled into deeply private human territory and in front of the university's most distinguished faculty. I have compromised your professional standing, she said sadly as they found a quiet corner among ornamental shrubs. Not at all, Marcus insisted, though he still couldn't quite meet her eyes. Though I probably should explain what the term actually means before you include it in your next presentation. Under the moonlight, with the sounds of the party muffled behind them, Marcus prepared to clarify one of humanity's most awkward topics to the earnest alien anthropologist who, despite her brilliance, had jumped to the conclusion that humans shapeshifted into dogs for intimate purposes. 3 days after the dinner party debacle, Vera and Marcus sat in his apartment, surrounded by research materials. Their weekly review session had become a ritual, but tonight an unusual tension hung in the air. They had carefully avoided discussing the doggy-style incident, focusing instead on Vera's observations of classroom dynamics and campus social hierarchies. Your notes on non-verbal communication in lecture settings are quite insightful, Marcus commented, reviewing her tablet. You've identified patterns even I hadn't consciously registered. Illusions are particularly attuned to micro-expressions, Vera explained. Before developing our formal communication protocols, our society was frequently disrupted by emotional misinterpretations. Marcus nodded, scrolling through her observations. Then he paused, seeing a familiar term flagged in her research list. Ah, I see you're still documenting that particular terminology we encountered at the party. Vera's crimson curls bobbed as she nodded earnestly. I've been conducting independent research on human mating behaviors and animal terminology, but the information seems inconsistent. Some sources suggest ritualistic significance, while others indicate recreational purposes. Marcus set down the tablet, taking a deep breath. I think I owe you a proper explanation. As your guide to human culture, I should have been more forthright instead of letting embarrassment get in the way. I would appreciate clarification, Vera agreed, particularly since I apparently created such consternation among your colleagues. Marcus ran a hand through his hair, searching for the most academic approach to this decidedly non-academic topic. In human intimate relationships, he began carefully, the term refers to a particular positioning during physical intimacy. It has nothing to do with transformation or actually becoming canine. It's named that way because the position somewhat resembles the way canines mate, with one partner behind the other. Vera's eyes widened as understanding dawned. Oh, it's merely a positional descriptor. Exactly, Marcus confirmed, relieved at her matter-of-fact response. But then why did everyone react with such intensity? Is this position taboo or ceremonial? Neither, really. It's just that humans generally don't discuss specific intimate positions in professional or formal settings. It would be like. He searched for an allusion equivalent, like discussing digestive processes during a state dinner. I see, Vera said thoughtfully. A natural function but considered private. She made a note on her tablet, then looked up with genuine curiosity. Is this position particularly significant in human relationships? The emotional response it generated seemed disproportionate. Marcus felt heat rising in his face again. It's, fairly common, but the reactions you saw were mostly because of the context. Your innocence about the meaning combined with the formal setting made it unexpectedly funny to humans. Humor derived from incongruity, Vera noted, a common pattern in human interaction. A silence settled between them, less tense than before but charged with a new awareness. Vera studied Marcus's face, nodding his dilated pupils and slightly elevated respiration. "I've embarrassed you again," she observed. "No, not embarrassed exactly," Marcus replied. "It's just not a conversation I expected to have with a research colleague." Vera tilted her head. "Are we merely colleagues, Professor Evans? My observations suggest our interaction patterns have evolved beyond purely professional parameters." The directness of her question caught Marcus off guard. Well, I suppose they have," he admitted. "I've come to regard you as a friend, perhaps more than that." "On Elusia, we value honesty in emotional matters," Vera said softly. "I find your presence increasingly significant to my well-being. Is this what humans call attraction?" The apartment suddenly seemed very quiet, the space between them on the couch narrower than before. "Yes," Marcus answered, his voice low. "That's exactly what it is." "Fascinating," Vera whispered. "I had researched human courtship extensively before arriving on Earth, but experiencing it directly is quite different." "Cross-cultural understanding at its most personal," Marcus suggested with a small smile. Vera set her tablet aside, turning to face him fully. "I would like to understand more about human connection if you're willing to guide me." Marcus reached out slowly, taking her four-fingered hand in his five-fingered one, a physical metaphor for their differences and similarities. "I think we have a lot to learn from each other," he said. Their first kiss was tentative, exploratory, a new form of communication that required no translator pendant. Vera noted the soft pressure of his lips, the gentle touch of his hand at the back of her neck, the curious sensation of weightlessness that seemed to defy Earth's gravitational pull. When they drew apart, her emerald skin had taken on a deeper hue, a physiological response she hadn't anticipated. "Your research on human intimacy just became much more hands-on," Marcus murmured. "Indeed," Vera agreed, her typically formal tone softened with emotion. "Though I believe extensive further study will be required." As the evening deepened into night, Vera and Marcus discovered that despite their different anatomies and cultural backgrounds, they shared a fundamental language of affection and desire. And if Vera occasionally asked technical questions about human physiology that made Marcus laugh against her skin, it only added to the unique joy of their connection, a bridge between worlds neither had expected to build. 6 months had extended to a year, and now Vera stood before the Elusian High Council of Knowledge, her research presentation reaching its conclusion. The holographic display behind her showed images of Earth, its varied landscapes, diverse populations, and most prominently, Professor Marcus Evans, now officially designated as her partner in both research and life. "In summary," Vera stated, her formal Elusian cadence returned after months of adopting human speech patterns. "Human communication relies heavily on contextual understanding, metaphorical language, and emotional subtext. Their tendency toward ambiguity, which initially appeared inefficient, actually creates rich cultural layers that enhance their social bonding." Elder Zithix, head of the council, leaned forward. "Your research has provided unprecedented insight into human social structures, Scholar Talmaris. However, you've requested a most unusual extension to your Earth assignment, an additional 5 years. The council requires further justification." Vera nodded, having anticipated this challenge. With a gesture, she changed the holographic display to show her comprehensive language database, thousands of human idioms, slang terms, and cultural references, meticulously categorized and analyzed. "Honored elders, my initial research yielded this extensive taxonomy of human expressions. However, true understanding comes not merely from categorization but from lived experience. My continued presence on Earth, particularly my personal relationship with Professor Evans, has revealed nuances that no external observer could document." She advanced the display to show a series of entries labeled Initial Misinterpretation, paired with Contextual Reality. At the top of the list, highlighted for emphasis, Doggy style, presumed, ritual transformation into canine form. Actual, positional terminology for intimate relations. Several younger council members struggled to maintain their illusion composure, their eyes betraying amusement. This example, Vera continued, illustrates the fundamental challenge of cross-species communication. Without experiential context, even the most sophisticated translation technology cannot prevent significant cultural misunderstandings. Elder Zithix raised a silver eyebrow. And your personal relationship with the human professor, how does this serve our academic mission? It provides unprecedented access to human social structures, Vera replied confidently. Through my integration into Professor Evans' family and social circle, I've documented relationship patterns across generations, regional variations in cultural expression, and intimate perspectives on human emotional bonding that would be inaccessible to a conventional researcher. She switched the display to show statistical analyses of communication patterns between humans in various relationship categories. Furthermore, our ongoing research has expanded beyond my original parameters to include human illusion comparative linguistics. Professor Evans has made significant progress in mastering our formal language structures, while I have developed new translation algorithms based on experiential context rather than literal meaning. The council members conferred quietly among themselves. Finally, Elder Zithix spoke. Your methods are unconventional, Scholar Talmaris, but your results are undeniable. The council grants your extended research period, with one condition. Professor Evans must visit Elusia for 1 Earth month annually to provide our scholars with direct access to human perspective. He will be honored by the invitation, Vera replied, bowing formally. Later, in her private communication chamber, Vera connected with Marcus via quantum link. His image formed in the holographic field, his smile as warm across the light years as it had been when she left Earth 3 weeks earlier. How did the council respond? He asked. Extension approved, Vera reported happily. Though you're required to visit Elusia once a year, I hope that's acceptable. More than acceptable, Marcus assured her. I've always wanted to see those crystal forests you described, plus I've been practicing my formal illusion. Listen, Shalvek Narim Korlas. Vera laughed, a sound she had adopted from humans and now expressed freely. Your pronunciation has improved, though you just told me your knowledge seeks underwater harmony. Close enough, Marcus chuckled. I meant my heart awaits your return. 2 more days until I depart, Vera said softly. I've acquired something for you, a first edition of Earth's earliest comprehensive dictionary. I thought it fitting, given how our relationship began with linguistic confusion. Speaking of which, Marcus said with a mischievous expression, remember how you thought humans transformed into dogs? I told that story at a faculty dinner last night. Professor Chen nearly choked on his wine. I've included the incident in my formal presentation, Vera admitted. It perfectly illustrates the danger of literal translation without cultural context. From academic embarrassment to scientific breakthrough, Marcus mused. I'm beginning to think that infamous misunderstanding was the best thing that could have happened. Indeed, Vera agreed, though I still maintain that human terminology is unnecessarily confusing. Why reference canines at all? It's statistically improbable that early humans modeled intimate behaviors after observing animals. Some mysteries of human language may never be solved, Marcus replied solemnly, though his eyes twinkled with humor. But I'm looking forward to exploring many more linguistic puzzles with you. As they continued their conversation, discussing research plans and personal matters with equal enthusiasm, Vera reflected on how far she had come from that first day on Earth. What had begun as strictly academic research had evolved into something far more valuable, a genuine connection across the stars, built on misunderstandings transformed into understanding, differences celebrated rather than merely documented. And if occasionally, during their most intimate moments, Marcus still teased her about her initial wild misinterpretation of human terminology, Vera had learned the most important aspect of human communication. Sometimes, laughter was the perfect response to life's inevitable confusions. When the quantum link finally closed, Vera made one final entry in her research log. Human connection transcends perfect understanding. Perhaps in our imperfect translations, we find our truest communication. The words seemed inadequate to express what she had learned. that beyond the academic analysis of language and custom lay the universal experience of finding someone who made the vast cosmos feel like home. That, she decided, was a truth that needed no translation at all.